And I am super excited about showing our city some love again in a couple weeks. In fact, I'm so excited about it that we practiced Servolution yesterday just to make sure, like at our house, we did like home Servolution. They didn't really know that's what it was, but we were practicing for a couple weeks and said, hey, everybody, 10 o'clock in the yard. We got 45 bags of mulch. We need to spray in our flower beds. And so we're just like, we're practicing, okay? In 2 weeks, we really want to be good, so we need to practice this. You got to learn how to motivate the family, right? This is best parenting techniques right now. So you got 1 more week. Like, you tell your family, hey, we need to practice. Like, you got 2 weeks to do it, so get on that. All right, so welcome to the third service, 11:45. You know about the third service, right? So it's the service. The speakers get loopy. It's our third time. We get loopy. All of our synapses don't always go as quick. And there's no close time. All right, so there's no crowd that we have to get rid of. You came, all right? You chose out of all the services that we had. So just get ready. We're ready to roll. Last week, we began a conversation. I began a conversation with Kenny Vaughan about what love is, what love isn't. And it challenges our commonly held assumptions about love. So we're going to continue that conversation today. So, but here's where I want you to know it's going to be a niche. It's going to be specific. The nuts and bolts. We're looking at what is love's role, or what does love push for when there's conflict between you and somebody else? Or what does love look like in a confrontation? Right? Anybody experience confrontation, conflict? Anybody? No, you don't? I do. So I'm not the only one? Like, you guys who are married, you never have conflict with your wife? Right? So, okay. Children, co-workers, neighbors, anybody? It's like, this is a huge part of our life, right? People, relationships, big part of our life. And we take scriptures that go, God says love. It was like, do we ever think and say, okay, my feelings are going like off the charts. I'm mad. I want to leave. I want to slam the door. I want to get rid of. I want to fire them. I want to whatever. And do we stop and say, okay, what's love look like in my conflict? How do I conflict with love? How do I confront with love? So we're just trying to go to this and say, the further, especially in our homes, the longer we travel with someone, the more chances there's going to be conflict. The longer you go on a trip with somebody, the more opportunity, the more time there is to disagree and have them bug you. Or you bug them. The longer you go on a trip, but the closer you are also, then the more they see of us. Right? The longer we go and the closer we go presents more opportunities. And there's conflict, but God says, here's what Jesus says, John 15:12. It's my commandment that you love one another. We're like, yeah, we understand it. We got that. Here's what we don't always remember. Jesus is putting a qualifier here. So they can say, well, how much should I love? He said, I'm going to tell you, as I have loved you. So if you can figure out how much Jesus has loved you, and then decide, I'm asked to do the same thing by the resurrected Savior, to do the same thing for others, then you have to work that out. And you have to include that. You have to include that in your conflict. Let me share one more thing before we get in this, is that, love the Lord your God. That's vertical. Love your neighbors yourself. Well, loving your neighbors yourself is one way that we love God, His children. The way that we worship God is how we treat each other. And the way that we treat each other is one way that we can present God to each other. So through my actions, I can show you love, which is the greatest attribute of God, one of the attributes of God. I give you grace. So when we treat each other, we're also in worship to God, but we're also telling people this is what God is like. And there's two responses that, psychology will say that there is to conflict, and that's fight or flight. And both of them, most likely, are from selfish reasons, not motivated from love. Because you're going to say, okay, flight, I don't want any drama. I'm going to run from this. I don't want to talk to, I'll just eat it. I'm not going to deal with it. Well, your focus is on yourself. That's not love. You're protecting yourself. What if the other person needed someone just to lovingly bring the idea up so there could be change in the future? But you're going, oh, no, I don't want to deal with the tension. I don't want to deal with the mess. The other thing is fight. Let's take the gloves off and let's go. I'll give you want to say that to me? I'll give you peace of my mind. And the same thing, the focus is on ourselves, on them. So let's take a poll. Do you tend to lean towards flight or fight? If you tend to lean towards flight, raise your hand. You're just going to avoid the conflict. All right? If you tend to take the gloves off and say, let's get it, raise your hand. All right, keep your hands up. Keep your hands up because I want you to stand up and come to the front. I'm going to pray with you. This is your day of salvation. You ought to have seen second service. When I said a fight, 3/4 is like, yes! So keep coming to the 11:45, right? Everybody who likes to avoid it, you need to come this one because those guys are fighters. Stay here. All right. 2 things I need to explain real quick. Conflict, definitions, conflict, all I'm saying is friction, right? Conflict is friction with somebody else. Confrontation, don't think bad. We tend naturally to think a confrontation is bad. Confrontation is just simply face-to-face. So confrontation would be, I'm taking this conflict, and I'm going to face-to-face with somebody. And it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be bad, right? I've had people come to me and confront me, and it was very loving confrontation, very helpful and beneficial confrontation. So I just want to clarify that. So Kenny, what's the right, wrong reasons for confrontation?
Yeah, when we do that, can we put the 2 trees up real quick? And if you weren't here last week, I just want to illustrate this real quick. So this is just, this would be like a fruitful person, which, by the way, all this is based on 1 Corinthians 13. So, and you know the scripture says love is patient, it's kind, and it says what? There's 7, if you read it, there's 7 things love is, and there's 8 things love is not. These are the 7 things that love is. And my point is just to say that if you know someone that's patient, kind, truthful, protects others, trusts, hopes, and perseveres, that's a fruitful person. Whether they live in their car or in a mansion, that's a fruitful person. And if you know anybody that's the 8 things love is not, which is angry, rude, envious, prideful, unforgiving, boastful, selfish, and they delight in evil, that's a fruitless person, whether they live in their car or in a mansion. Right? I mean, this is who they are. And so last week we were just talking about it's so important that we live a loving life, which is choosing to be these 7 things that love is. And I just want to throw this out there. None of this happens unless we're connected to divine, right? All this starts and ends with Jesus. But in my own life, I've struggled with knowing what to do and what was right and what was wrong. This has helped me a lot. So these are the 7 things love is. This is its destiny. This isn't always its state. In other words, I can be this person, these 7 things that love is, but you can still hurt me. I can't stop you from hurting me, right? I don't control this. If I fight for this, I become this. You hurt me, I become angry, rude, envious, prideful, because I'm fighting for this. That's what fear does. But if I live a loving life, I'll remain this even if you hurt me. And if you hurt me, you devastate me, you take all of this away. If I can remain this, fruitfulness remains my destiny. If I keep the roots connected, the fruit's coming back. That's the influence I have in my life to have a loving life, to live a loving life, and to not become these things. So throwing that out there real quick in case you weren't here last week and you missed, what are these trees and all this good stuff. So the question was,
right or wrong reason for
right or wrong. So the right reason for conflict is for others. The wrong reason for conflict is for me. Okay? Because conflict comes when I get hurt. So whenever I get hurt, you take something from me, you take a portion of this from me. If my response is to the hurt you caused me without regard for you, listen, it's so important to just realize this. If someone is constantly hurting you, this is them. And so then the question becomes, what am I more concerned about? The fact that they're hurting me or the fact that their own lives are fruitless and destined to remain fruitless? And so if all I'm worried about is you hurting me, then I'm either going to flight or fight. But if I really care about you and I really want what's best for you, then I have to confront you in some way, shape, or form to help you understand what you're doing. So the right confrontation or the right way to approach someone is for them. The wrong way is for yourself. And one way, I mean, I try to illustrate it, you know, but the wrong way would be like this. Okay, someone hurts me and I'm coming like this. The right way is like this. It's for you. Okay? The wrong way would be if you come to Reggie like, what, right? And the right way is like this, to protect Reggie. But I still come to him to seek the truth, okay? And allow the truth will defend you better than you'll ever be able to defend yourself, by the way. That's the good thing. It's not like, hey, I just let you run all over me, because I have an obligation. Love requires that I present to you the truth for your sake. And the truth is never that you need to keep running over me.
So love will motivate, confrontational love will motivate you to do it for the sake, not because of what you've taken from me or what you're doing to me, but mainly, I don't want you to end up being that type of person. And we could, I'm going to speak for myself, I can fool myself and say that I am responding in a way for the best interest of someone else, but deep down the motive is me. I can convince myself sometimes. So, you told
me. That's not love for you.
No.
Like, it's not what we do. You can be all these 7 things to get what you want. That's not love. It's manipulation. Love immediately ceases to be love when it's for you, when it's me doing it for me. Me loving you to be loved is not love, it's manipulation. You can't manipulate love, by the way. You can't. Because the moment you try, it ceases to be love. So, how did I get there?
Let's talk about respect. We're moving towards the respect thing with your children. Why would you not let them disrespect you?
Right.
Or what would true love do?
Yeah. So this is just a good example, especially with the parent-child dedication, and it's something I've dealt with in my own life. So when my kids coming up, I demanded they respect me. But the way I demanded they respect me, it's not what we do, it's why we do it. Okay, I'm saying it's not what we do, it's why we do it that determines if it's love or selfishness. So I demanded they respect me. Here's how it worked, though, at the house. They would disrespect me enough times that I couldn't take it anymore. I blow up, and I blow up across the room. You get your whatever in timeout, and then whenever, if I remember, you get out in a few minutes. If I forget, you've been in there for an hour, and somebody reminds me, right? But I don't care. It's your fault, you know. And then so it's like, so then I scream across the room, you could come out. But here's what I start realizing I'm teaching my children. I'm teaching my children that if they disrespect me, I'm going to hurt them. I'm going to punish them. And by example, I'm teaching my children to hurt or punish people who disrespect them if they're going to be like me. So what I'm teaching them, I'm teaching my children, you hurt me, I'm going to become this to you. To teach you a lesson, to help you, to teach you how to treat me. That's all me. Okay? So what do you do different? What I had to realize was that, you know what? Why do I want my children to respect me? Not so I can be respected, so that they will be respectful. I want my children to live a respectful life so that they can have a fruitful destiny. So the way it looked different was, I may still yell and put them in timeout or whatever, but then I'm like, okay, Kenny, don't yell them out. I need to go get them out. I need to sit them down. I need to help them understand. I don't want them in timeout. I don't want to punish them. I don't like any of this. I like it less than they do, but I love them enough that if we have to do it all day long every day, we're going to do it because I want you to live a fruitful life. So it's helping them understand it's for them, not for me. And, you know, the Bible tells us that we're to honor our mother and our father, but it says that children, honor your mothers and your fathers so that you can live a long life. It's not so that I can be honored as a father. That's not why I need to make sure my children honor me for me. It's for them. If my children honor me, it doesn't make me honorable. It makes them honorable. Whether or not I'm honorable is how I treat people. Does that make sense?
Truth bomb.
Okay.
Wow. Certain things when we're up here, like the first service, I heard one thing, it's just like, wow. And then second service, another thing, it just hits you at different times. And it's amazing. What's the tipping point? We're not trying to say that we all ought to be like the confrontational police, like we see something wrong and we go attack it because we're trying to save the world. We don't want to do that. What is the tipping point, though, that when we have a conflict with somebody that says, oh, we need to have a face-to-face. I need to talk to them about this. What would be a tipping points or decisions or, questions that we could ask ourselves? Should I go confront them?
So, when Reggie had asked me some of these things ahead of time, and I spent a lot of time thinking about it. I can only maybe remember 1 or 2 times in my life that I've had to get someone and sit them down and talk to them for their sake. And so I think we don't need to be that. We don't need to be trying to control everyone else's life, all that good stuff. But sometimes that happens. So the tipping point for that action is whenever what they're doing is imminently dangerous. I mean, it's either already in the midst of destroying their own family, it's destroying their relationships with all the people around them. It's gotten so bad, right? And so, but normally that happens over time. And what we do, live in a selfish life, that's the way I like to describe this, or the way I do it, is I see the little things you're doing all the time. But I'm fight and I'm flight. So I see that you're angry and you're rude all the time, Reggie. I mean, he's not, right? But I see you're angry and you're rude all the time. And sometimes in front of me, and sometimes you say, man, when people push me there, man, I get angry and rude. And I'm like, yeah, me too. I don't take it. But if I love Reggie, I need to take advantage of that opportunity to go, man, yeah, you maybe a little too rude and a little angry, And so, but for his sake, not for me, not because you hurt me. And really, most of the time, it's a lot better if you can confront these things when it wasn't someone hurting you. When you're hurting me and I respond to it, it gets a lot harder. But if I see you hurting someone else, I see you hurting other people. So normally we confront these things a little at a time throughout our life, or we just ignore them all the time. We fight or flight. I see it, but I don't want to deal with it. So I see you like this, but that's too much for me to deal with. I'm just going to move away from you and leave you just like you are. Or I'm going to put up a boundary that says you do that to everybody else, but you're not going to do it to me. That's not love, right? So love would have to come to you and say, hey, man, you might have to sit down and have a confrontation.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
Yep. We've talked about the test of severity in that if there's a lot to lose, or you see that there's a pattern of behavior that could cause that person to lose something in the future, we should confront them. We should do something about it. An example that we talked about, or that I used, was that on our street, we've got a stop sign, and a lot of people roll through that stop sign. It's not a big trafficked area where we live. And so if your daughter was in front of me driving, and I see her roll through the stop sign, I mean, almost just come to a stop, but her head doesn't go back, right? And she rolls through the stop sign, I'm probably not going to get on the phone really fast and say, Kenny, you need to talk to your daughter. She rolled through a stop sign. She's going to get herself hurt. But if I'm on 69 and his daughter races past me at 90 to 100 miles an hour, the severity of what the consequences could be is that that's a test of severity. I need to call immediately and say, Kenny, I'm so concerned. This could really be something that could be
right.
Detrimental.
Yeah, but that's hard for you. That's when it's hard, because how's Kenny going to respond? What's Kenny going to do? Mm-hmm. Or you could call me and say, man, your daughter just ran me off the dang road. You need to teach her how to drive, right? But if you call me for my daughter's sake, believe it or not, I still may feel, why are you picking on my daughter? But that's not love, right? So I know if you're calling for my daughter's sake, I'm grateful. And if you ever see my daughter driving like that, call me.
All right, so what would you say to those that raise their hand that would say they avoid conflict? Not conflict. We don't avoid conflict. We avoid confrontation. But those that would try to avoid drama at all costs, that we don't have to have a confrontation, what would you say to them they need to remember?
That if you're avoiding conflict that's hurting someone else, or in other words, just someone else, now listen, if they're doing something that only bothers you, you may be the problem. right? If you're doing something that only bothers me, I may be the problem. I don't need to run around trying to teach you how to shape your life to fit me. That's not love, right? But if you're living a life, or if I'm living a life that is slowly destroying me, leaving me empty, and you're unwilling to confront me about it, unwilling to help me see, you're just leaving me to my own destruction. That's not love, right? Or on the other side of the coin, you know, if I'm living that life, by the way, if I'm this person, I'm hurting you, right? Or if you're that person, you're hurting me. So the way, if I'm the fight guy, then because you hurt me, all I'm thinking is, what the heck was that? You know, and I'm wanting to get it back. And so I'm coming fighting, and I'm not helping you. You know, I'm making it harder and harder for you to live a loving life. When I come to you in anger, rudeness, listen, if I am selfish, if I live a selfish life towards you, I can't make you live a selfish life. You can still live a loving life. But if I live a selfish life towards you, I'll make it harder for you to live a loving life. And if I live a loving life towards you, I'll make it easier for you to live a loving life. Right? And so ignoring someone's destruction is not love, and neither is.
So what would you say to those that are just, hey, I'm going to go give a piece of my mind, basically go get my fruit back?
Yeah, don't do it. You know what I mean? So you may need to go, but you need to go for their sake. Right? It's not love. The question I always ask myself every time before I walk into something is am I going to be loving? And I always run this by myself. Am I being patient, kind, truthful, protecting others, trust, hoping, and am I persevering in love? Am I really coming for you? If I'm pretending I'm coming from you, if you don't know already, you're going to figure it out pretty quick. That's not love. I have to sell out. I have to sell out for you, including myself. But if I really love you, then I ask myself, is anything I'm about to do angry, rude, envious, prideful? Is it because of any of these 8 things love is not? If so, then that's not love either. So I have to come in this, and I have to remain in this.
So when there's a conflict and we choose to go confront, what should we be pursuing? What's our ultimate objective?
What's best for the other person? That's what you're doing. So
what's true in the situation?
Yeah, well, right. We always seek the truth. The truth is almost always hidden, but the truth is best for everyone. That's what protects you, by the way. The reason you don't have to protect yourself is because if you come in, you stand for the truth, it protects everybody. I mean, listen, in life, we tend to be the plaintiff or the defendant. If you think about a courtroom, you hurt me, then I'm the plaintiff, you're the defendant. And they're the jury. I hurt you, you're the plaintiff, I'm the defendant. It's always one such, so we're always the plaintiff. But love does not allow you to be the plaintiff or the defendant in your life. Love requires you sit on the jury in your life. You have to be the one that will look at yourself and look at the other person and seek the truth and stand for the truth. If the truth means I need to change, I need to get busy changing. If the truth means you need to change, I don't need to just throw that truth at you anyway and feel like, hey, I loved you, good, deal with it, right? That's not love. Love also has a responsibility, once I find the truth, to deliver it to you in a way you're most likely to receive it. I know that's complicated.
No, so conflict could be is an incredible way to see where we need to grow, even if we're not completely. Maybe if we're sharing wrong. Maybe you're wrong and I'm partially wrong. But why am I feeling like I am? And I mean, by looking at the truth, and I love how you say that. Search for the truth. Most of the time it's hidden. How did you say that?
Yeah, love always seeks the truth, and it's normally hidden.
Love seeks the truth, and normally it's hidden.
Yeah, which means you can't assume you know why listen, you probably know, if you hurt me, I probably know why you did it. And I'm probably right, okay? And you're probably right if you think you know why I did what I did. But a lot of times you're not right. And assuming you know is not loving. You need to come in seeking the truth, and you need to ask why.
So you're saying someone could do something to you, and you could think you know why they're responding or being rude or mean to you. The reality is there may be a root, there may be something even deeper than that. And so going into the conflict, what Jesus said, love as I have loved you, would go, okay, let's try to peel as much as we can away and see what the truth is.
Right.
Kind of like what's was Smiley.
Yeah, so I'll tell the story of Smiley. But listen, if I'm just responding to what you did, which is the truth, okay? I'm not saying that's not true. What you did is the truth, but it's not the whole truth and it's not the real truth. The truth I need is why you did it. That's the truth I need. Because if I just respond to what you did and how it hurt me and you do the same, all we do is fight over fear. And we never find the truth. And love always seeks the truth. And so I need to know why you did it. So what you do is you need to ask why. Why did you do it? You know, or why is this happening? What's going on here? And if they don't tell the truth, say, well, man, that's not why. And you got to keep digging till you find the truth. So, but just to give you an example. So I got a neighbor, and we live in the country, and there's more four-wheelers, UTVs, ATVs on the road than there is cars. And my parents live next door to me, so it's not even the width of this building is further than it is from my driveway to my parents' driveway. And so I got Kennedy on the front of our four-wheeler, and I pull out the driveway. I go to my parents' house. About 15 minutes later, the sheriff's department shows up. And he says, hey, Mr. Vaughan, I'm sorry I had to come. I didn't even want to come, but Smiley said, called us to make a complaint on you for riding your four-wheeler on the street. So, my first thought is, right? I mean, what the heck? And by the way, Smiley is this guy. He's an older gentleman. He lives across the street in between my driveway and my parents' driveway. Everybody calls him Smiley because he always smiles and waves. Now, I think he smiled and waved at me right before he called the sheriff's department on me. Really. So now what do? Well, I know what I want to do. I want to go to Smiley and say, what is wrong with you, man? This is what you did to me, right? This is what you took from me, or whatever you want to call it. Then I want to go, I don't know if I'm going to do that. He's my neighbor. That wouldn't be the Christian thing to do, So I'm just going to stop smiling and waving, right? Really. So I'm not going to smile and wave anymore. But this guy's at my front door. Listen, we're planting seeds of love or fear in our lives everywhere we go, at work, with our neighbors, in church, wherever we go. And as they grow, we bump into them everywhere we go. So we surround ourselves with love, or we surround ourselves with fear based on our own decisions, right? So anyway, back to Smiley. I'm like, this one's not good because I got to do what's best for Smiley. What he did seems wrong to me, I'm required to care about my neighbor. Love requires that I really care, that he's upset with me. So maybe I'm going to have to make up my mind before I go. If he wants to fight, I'm not going to fight. If whatever he wants to do, I'm just going to see. If he's not willing to go with me to seek the truth, I'll have to walk away, but I did all I could. And if he doesn't want me to ride my four-wheeler on the street, I may be the only guy that can't ride his four-wheeler on the street because it's not worth it to me to wreck my neighbor, okay? Anyway, I go over there, and I come walking up. He sees me coming. He comes rushing out the front door, and he's all puffed up. He thinks I'm there to fight or fuss or whatever, I just said, hey, Smiley, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I upset you, and I wanted to ask him why, but my next question was going to be, why did you, everybody, we all do this. Why'd you call the sheriff? Before I could even do that, the truth started coming out. Listen, whenever you're there to protect others, they feel safe. They'll tell you the truth. If I'm approaching you to protect you, you'll feel safe enough for the truth to come flushing out. But if I come in swinging, if I come in for my sake without regard for you, any way, shape, or form I come in, if it's for me without regard for you, you're not interested in the truth. You're just interested in fighting me.
And what your heart allowed your technique to be, and I think it's important your heart showed the technique. You got out and said, I'm sorry, but you weren't apologizing for doing something you didn't think was wrong.
Right.
You were apologizing because he was upset. And I think probably your humility and demeanor brought it down to him saying, I really think this guy is sorry for what's going on.
And I'm sorry that I'm at odds with my neighbor. I don't want to be at odds with my neighbor. I don't. So I'm here for you. I don't know what this is about, but I want to find out. That's because I was clueless. But as soon as I did that, he started telling me what it was about. And it was the first thing I'd never dreamed. But here's what he said. He said, I've lived here my whole life. When I was a little boy, under 10 years old, I rode horses on all this property across the street from my house. I rode four-wheelers on it. And he's probably 80 years old now. And he said, all these people moved in here, and now I can't even go across the street anymore. So because I had moved in across the street, but listen, that's fear in his life. But what do I care most about? The fact that he called the sheriff on me, or that fear's wrecking his life? So by going and seeking the truth, it gets flushed out. So when I say Smiley, wow, I'm just sitting there going, and as he's saying it, you can tell he's coming to himself, like, I can't believe I'm even saying this, And so finally I said, well, look, anytime you want to come on my property, you call me, you're welcome. So what the real problem was got resolved. And then I said, hey, listen, I won't ride my four-wheeler on the street anymore. He said, don't do that. I'll ride mine all the time, That's what he told me.
Hey, and you couldn't predict or control how he was going to respond to you.
Right.
But at the same time, you knew even if he responded to you in a way that was less favorable than what you wanted, that love still had a requirement of how you to respond.
That's right. And used to, it was a whole lot harder. Used to, if I was going to that deal, it would be like, okay, this is how I'm going, and this is how I expect him to respond. And if he doesn't respond that way, this is what I'm going to do. And if he starts drawing back, that means he's going to swing, so I'm going to swing first. You know what I mean? All of that stuff, right? But you don't have to have a plan. The plan is love. You follow the truth. Love and the truth will take you where you need to be. If you're willing to go, because sometimes the truth is, wow, I came and it was me.
Let's close out with talking about the highway.
Mm-hmm. So listen, I want to share this story because it's 2 weeks we've been talking about this. One of the things I've learned more than anything, trying to live a loving life, is that nothing will bless me more. You cannot love to be loved, but if you love, it's the best thing you'll ever do for yourself. Okay? And this is just one example of it. We leave church one day, and we pull out onto the highway, and there's a SUV on the shoulder, and there's a lady. Just at first glance, I'm going 60, 70 miles an hour, but as I'm approaching, it looks like the lady's on the passenger side. Both front doors are open. She's on the passenger side, and she's got an adult, trying to drag him out of the vehicle, like a fight. And so my first thought is, this guy's trying to carjack him. Her kids must be in there, and she's trying to get him out of there. And so I pull over, I don't know, about 100 yards past what was going on, because I'm thinking if I run back and it's a carjacking, bullets start flying, I don't want my own family, my wife and my kids are in my vehicle. So I pull quite a ways up the road. I sprint back. As I'm sprinting back, I'm realizing it is what I thought it was. And listen, by the way, sometimes it's not what we think it is. And love's got an opportunity to seek the truth, okay? That's not what I'm telling you, sorry. I'm running back, and so halfway there, I'm like, it is what I thought it was. This is definitely a woman. She's got a hold of a man's legs, and she's trying to get him out of the foot's on the door jamb. She's trying to drag him out of the truck. So now I'm like, oh, Lord, me too. I'm going to help her. I make the corner. As soon as I make the corner of the door, I realize it's not what I thought it was. The man is in agony. He's laid across the center console. He's holding on to the steering wheel, and his whole back and body is just in spasms, like just locked up. And his wife says, oh my God, thank God you came. Pull on his legs. And she jumps in the back seat, and she's between the consoles. She's got her hands on him. She's praying for him. I'm talking about loud. She's praying nonstop. I'm thinking, pull on his legs, And she's like, please, pull on his legs. So, and he starts saying, pull on my leg. I'm like, okay, I'll pull on your legs, man. So I put his shoes under my armpits, and I get his calves, and I'm pulling. That's not hard enough. Pull harder for us. So now I got both my feet in the door jamb. I'm pulling as hard as I can, and it's not working. So I move his legs over, and I climb into the passenger seat. So now his butt's right here, his back is here, and he's holding on to the steering wheel. And by the way, this is a funny story. It's a sad story. It's a life-changing story. So his butt's right here, And so I don't even know why I did this. I see it on the NFL and on football and stuff. Somebody gets a cramp, you try to push it out. So I can't push hard enough, so I start digging my elbow into his rear end, man, just hard as I can, just grinding. And my friend sees me pulled over. He pulls up. He comes around to the side of the truck, and he's looking at me. I'm like, dude, pull on his legs, you know. So now he's got his legs, he's got his feet in the door jam. I'm grinding his rear, and this lady's got her hands on him praying for him. And it's crazier than it seems here, I promise you. It's just insane. But anyway, finally he starts relaxing. He goes, it's working. So I stop. Everything stops, and he rolls over and sits up, and that's in my lap. So now I got a grown man, he's sitting in my lap, and he's so grateful. And his wife is so grateful. He don't know what else to do. He just hugs me. So now I'm hugging this grown man in my lap. He's crying, I'm crying. I still don't know what's going on, And anyway, he said that we followed him to the emergency room because we were afraid it may happen again. I might pull on his leg again. But we met him there, and we visited with him a little bit, and he explained that this is just the second time this had happened. It happened once before, the week before. And several weeks later, him and his wife came by our shop to thank us. And what it was brain cancer. It was causing his body to do that. But Friday, this was probably 5 years ago. Friday, I had to go pick up some shirts. I was supposed to pick up some shirts. So they were going to bring the shirts to me for Shields of Strength. And I called them, and they said, hey, can you come pick them up because Rochelle wants to meet you. I'm like, who's Rochelle? Why would she want to meet me? Said, you helped her dad on the side of the road one day. I said, well, how's her dad? He died several years ago. But meeting Rochelle filled me from the inside out. I'm just trying to tell you that everything you're looking for, that you're trying to protect, that you're trying to defend, is costing you what can fill you from the inside out. Loving God and others. Doing what's best for others without regard for yourself. You will never protect yourself like love will protect you.
I've found out that in my life, when I'm empty on the inside, I'm looking on the outside for everybody else to fill that emptiness. And so I'm looking at everybody else to love me. But when I'm full on the inside, because of God's love, I'm looking at how to dump that love on everybody else. So it's switched. If I'm empty, I'm looking at getting. But when I'm full, I'm just empty at giving.
Right. And so listen, this relationship can survive. This person and that person. Because this person will live off of this person's fruit. But this person is perpetually empty. And what I'm saying is, if this is you, sometimes life wipes us out, okay? Where we're really a loving person, but we're fruitless. If this is me, I owe you. Love requires that I share with you until you can get back on your feet, right? To love other people around you. But if this is you and this is me, I will come to you with my fruit. Even though you took some, I'll come to you with more. But as I come to you with more, I have a responsibility to help you understand. Until you change this never changes. And if you'll look at me and say, I know all of that, I know all that truth, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. The most loving thing I can do is walk away. Does that make sense? But if I walk away like that and you change, it's like the prodigal son. He let his son go, but when he changed, man, he came back. I mean, the father welcomed him.
Incredible. So we don't push a lot of social media stuff around here as far as other people's accounts. Kenny has an Instagram account that I would encourage you to go and be a part of. He shares 1-minute videos. It's helped me. Short, but they're very poignant. They talk about things most people won't talk about, and it's concerning love. It's under John Kennedy Vaughan, and you check that out. And then he has a book coming out in the fall that will help you know and let you know about that, and hopefully have that here at Praise. But this is challenging to me. It's a good challenge, and it won't be long before you get to choose whether you're going to use this information or not, because conflict is all around, right?
Yep.
Hey, would you pray for us?
Yes, sir. Father, thank you so much for loving us. Help us to love as you love. God, we're the only ones with your light in us. And it's in us so that we can share it with others. Give us the courage that when we're offended, to still do what's best for that person without regard for ourselves, to seek the truth and to trust you in the truth to defend us. I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.